everyone, my name is Darlene, and I have a question for you that I want you to ponder about and think about. Okay, so when I give you this amazing question, you're gonna be like, "What is she talking about?" Exactly. What sexuality got to do with it? You're thinking about why is she talking about sexuality? What is specifically? They're trying to teach it to elementary students. Why do elementary students have to know if a person in history was gay? Why is it relevant? Why is it being taught? To fourth graders, to fifth graders, elementary students shouldn't be taught LGBTQ until middle school. Elementary students don't understand what that is, and why are we forcing to learn despite parents' wishes? Children don't understand the concept of LGBTQ at all. They shouldn't be forcing teachers to teach this. And lastly, parents can have a say if they want their children to be taught LGBTQ. To begin with, as an individual that works with children on a daily basis from Monday through Friday, fifth graders to be exact, I can say firsthand, fifth graders really aren't mature for it. They think about the concept for a moment or so and then they forget about it. Exactly. If I tell a student what's 10 times 10, they'll tell me 100. If I tell them 20 times 20, even though I've taught them this, they'll forget about it the next day. So why are we going to teach them about it if they're just going to forget about it? It's just, we're trying to teach a younger generation. The point is to teach a younger generation so that they can have it in their mind and mold them. When you have elementary students, it's easier to mold them to think a certain way at a younger age. So by the time they're at my age, 21, they're going to be thinking, okay, I can do this and I can do that. But why at elementary? Why not at middle school? Middle school, they can be taught it and they can understand it better. My point is, as a person and as a conservative, I wouldn't want my children to learn this in elementary. I would want my children coming to me first before they're learning at school. I have the right. The teacher has the right. But why are schools enforcing it? Why are we teaching elementary students this? And elementary students don't understand a lot of things at this age. They just go with the flow. If I tell them I'm gay, they're like, oh, okay, I'm gay too. It's more as in not peer pressure. They just go along with it because they want to feel a part. And that's what elementary students are. Elementary's about. They like to go along with a lot of things. They're like, oh, cool, let me be it. Even though I don't know what it is, I'll be it. Because people say it's cool. In an article by Paul Tucock on September 5th, 2019, it says, next year, this was last year, next year all primary schools must, keyword, teach pupils that different types of families exist. Okay, why do we teach homosexual relationships more than just heterosexuals? Why are we teaching more of one than the other? That is very biased. In schools, we don't even bring up the concept of heterosexual. We really don't. We don't really bring up our private lives. We just say our significant other, our husband, our wife. It hasn't really been a big deal until recently. Another thing is why do schools get to dictate what a child should learn about sexuality at 10 years old? Why do they get to dictate? Why not us, the people? Why not us? They're like, oh, they need to learn this and they need to learn that. But that's not fair. They're 10. They're 10 years old. They don't understand a lot of things. And it hurts because some of these students are just so confused because they're like, oh, I want to be this now. I want to be that now. Children, 8 years old, 4 years old, 8 years old, 7 years old, one day likes blue, the next day likes purple. They don't even know what they like. They don't even know anything. They know they're sponges, but they don't even know if they like blue. And we're gonna teach a whole concept to them beyond their minds. Yeah, I can't see that happening. So, what about parents' wishes about their children learning this? Supporting LGBTQ students in elementary. They're already teaching and there's strategies to push it in. Push it in. But why can't we do heterosexual? I'm going to keep bringing that up because it should be fair on both grounds, equal on both grounds. We are placing it in classrooms, but parents have the right to say no if they don't want their children to learn about this in sexual education. Because when children are taught in 5th grade to talk about sexual education, I remember getting a letter to my mother, the school asking if they can teach me this. It should be the same way about sexual orientation. I should have a right, if I was a parent, if I want my child to learn this. I shouldn't be forced down that my child should be taught this. I would want them to come to me so I can teach them. It's my right as their parent, as their guardian. Who else's voice is going to be unheard? A teacher. As an individual that's studying to become a teacher, there is rights that we do have. The teacher should and does have a voice in the matter. Teachers have the right to say no if they don't want to teach LGBTQ. They have the right to say no. In the book by Introduction to Teaching by Paul Egan and Don Kuich, it says that teachers have a right to what content and teaching methods for students. So they have the right to say no if they don't want to. If they don't believe that students should learn this at that age, they have the right to toss it out. Okay? Their right is protected. That's one of the teacher's rights of what content and what shouldn't be taught. In conclusion, let those have a right to say no if they choose to. We shouldn't be forced to have it to be taught in school if we don't want it. We are trying to become a society that's acceptable of all. But we should always have a voice of when to say it and when not to say it. Teachers have a voice, just as students have a voice, and parents have a voice. It all comes down to who actually gets to say what is taught. We should be teaching more on basic things and not on sexuality. It should be on basic knowledge, math, English, even taxes. Let's teach our students taxes at a young age. Let's teach them about mortgages at a younger age. But yet we want to teach them about sexuality. It comes to my point again. What's sexuality got to do with it? What does sexuality got to do with it? In the book, again, called Introduction to Teaching, it's called Academic Freedom. If a student asks you about LGBTQ, then yes, it is your right to tell them. But if they don't ask, you don't have to teach them because it's not being taught at home. Students don't tend to ask at home because their parents haven't brought it up. Only if a student brings it up. So I'm fair to say if a student doesn't bring it up, it's because they're not being taught at home. And it's not your job to teach them a sexual orientation if you're mostly teach them about the basics. We should be teaching again about more things that are important than sexual orientation. Through it all, everyone is important and their sexuality is important. I do not disagree that LGBTQ. I'm very supportive of both sides. But we must decide what we want to learn and not push it on to children because they'll say yes to many things. They're very moldable and they're very like a sponge. We are a voice for the next generation, but we should always have our foot down for what should be taught and what shouldn't, and what age is enough. Should we teach 6-year-olds about predators? Should we teach them about men and children getting together? What does it come down to?